Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Ahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulihil kareem. So he's mentioned, again, this is the Tuhfatul Ulama. So in here he's mentioned an interesting concept, and he's mentioned two examples. So what he's saying here is you have something which is mubah. Mubah means permissible, correct? Now when something is mubah, it can have implications to the general public. Yes? So if you do this, you don't have to do it, it's permissible. But if you do it, it may have certain negative implications on the public. Do you understand? So, or even for example, something is mandoob or slightly encouraged. So he gave two examples here. So sometimes, he's saying that sometimes you have to consider this, that because of the misconception or misunderstandings it may cause, you just leave this. And sometimes despite this, you still carry out. And I got two examples here. One is, if you look at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, previously what happened when the Kaaba was built on the foundations of Ibrahim ﷺ, and the money was less, so they had to shorten the Kaaba. So the Hatim was not part of the Kaaba originally. So when the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say later on? لولا حديث أهل قومك, or if it hadn't been for your people just becoming Muslims, I would have changed it back to the original foundations. So if something is mubah, or even more than mubah, it's slightly, there's a raghbah in it, something good to do. But because of the fitna of fasad, and because of the fear of it causing more harm, the Prophet ﷺ left it. You get it? So something is mubah, or just a bit more than mubah, the Prophet ﷺ left it. So sometimes you consider, sometimes the Sharia has considered the misconception it may cause. On the other hand, you have an example where you have a scenario where something was permissible, and despite it could be causing controversy, Allah told the Prophet, Allah still carried this decision out. For example, the Arab custom was what? If you have an adopted son, the adopted son is considered your real son. The same way a person cannot marry his son's wife after divorce. Like once your son marries somebody, then she's haram mu'abbadan. Permanently, she can never marry her ever again. The father can't marry. But if you're adopted, the Arabs consider the adopted son to be in the ruling of what? The normal son. Now, when Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu ta'ala, he married Zainab bin Jahash, and when the divorce happened, now the Arabs consider Zayd to be what? Adopted son, but he has the same ruling as a real son. So therefore, you can't marry his ex-wife. So now, but it's permissible. Islam is permissible. So the permissible action, it could cause what? It could cause misconception. It could cause people to get confused. It can make people think wrong things. But even then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still carried it out. أَتَخْشَى النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ أَقْوَى أَن تَخْشَى. So it's not as simple as saying, oh, this action may cause people to cause misunderstanding, confusion. That we just leave it. And not simple as, it doesn't matter what people say. There's a lot more nuances you have to look at. In certain situations, like for example, this was unnecessary. Without the Prophet ﷺ marrying Zainab, it would always be it would be very hard to understand and accept that no, the adopted son is not your real son. So the Prophet actually was necessary to show people practically that you have to do what? That the adopted son is not your son, not in the same ruling. So that mubah had a lot of weight before. So even though it's permissible, Allah done it so to show with strength that look, the Prophet himself is doing this. He's not your real son. And in that one is okay, it's not that important, and there's other fawaid. So the principle he's trying to understand here, he's mentioned what he thinks is the difference between the two of them. But the point that he's mentioning in this statement is that it's not as simple as saying, if it causes harm, leave it. If it causes misconception, or it can make people think bad about Islam, just leave it. And not as simple as saying, we don't care what people think. You have to do ri'ayah of janibain. And different circumstances require different approaches. Understood?